finishing chapter 19 over here. And we have David taking care of business right after Avshalom dies. He finally deals with Shimi ben Gera. He officially exempts him. And then you have Mephibosheth, who tries to reconcile with David. Now the pasuk says, "Barzilai Giladi Yarad min Rogelim." Barzilai of Gilad came from Rogelim, and he crossed the Jordan with the king to see him at the Jordan. Barzilai was very old, 80 years old, and he gave the David HaMelech a lot of provisions when he was in Mahanaim. So the king said to Barzilai, "You cross over with me, and I will pay back the favor in Yerushalayim." Barzilai said to the king, "How many days remain in my life? I'm 80 years old already. Why I should come with you to Yerushalayim? What can I eat? What can I drink already? I'm an old man." So then, so he says, "Listen, let me go be in my city. I'll die by my father and my mother, and your servant Chicham, he'll cross with you. You could give him whatever you want." And then Chicham says, the king says, "Chicham will cross with me, and I will do what's proper in my eyes." The king kisses Barzilai, he blesses him. Barzilai goes back home, and then all the men of Israel came to the king, and they said, "Why did our brothers, the men of Yehuda, abduct you? They have brought the king and his household across the Jordan, and all of David's men with him." And then the men of Yehuda answered, "Because the king is related to me. Why are you angry over this matter? Have we partaken in the king's food? Has he granted us special portions?" So they're asking him, why is the king all the way in by Yehuda for so many days? Why'd you take him from us? And they said, "What do you mean? We didn't do anything to him. Well, we took him, we forced him to give us food, we forced him to give us stuff, nothing. He gave us nothing. What do you mean? He wanted to be with us." So then they said, the men of Israel answered the men of Yehuda, and they said, "Listen, I have 10 times as much share in the king. I have more than you. Why do you upset me? Why? The men of Yehuda were harsher than the words of the men of Israel." So over here they're arguing about why David wasn't brought back earlier, and Yehuda thinks that he's their king more than Am Yisrael's king. Already starts the discussion of the men of Yehuda, the men of Israel. We're going to learn later that already by David's grandchildren, that Am Yisrael splits into two: the Yehuda and Shomron, Yehuda and the rest of Israel. But already here they're having a little bit of mahloket, a little bit of the fight about who is really their king, as opposed to seeing each other as one. We're already sinat chinam, chas v'shalom, and fighting. But the point is over here, interestingly, Chazal tell us that the Barzilai was really 80 years old, and he calls himself old. So the Gemara in Shalmi Bikurim says that whoever is 80 years old is considered a very old age. So if you die 80, what did the pasuk in Tehillim say? Im bigvurot shmonim shana. If you're mighty, you live to 80 years old. I mean, it's not such a simple thing to live till 80 years old. So then he says, Imi tam avdecha et kol asher ochav et asher shteh. Well, what can you give me already? I'll eat and I'll drink. What can I eat? What can I drink already? I'm old. So the Gemara Sechet Shabbat says Barzilai was so old he could no longer taste what he ate or what he drank. To him, it was all the same. It was just mush, right? And also the Gemara says the people's when they're old, their lip gets very dry and it gets cuts. It gets splits open. So it's very hard for them to eat. So another opinion says that Barzilai was actually lying. The really old people could taste their food, but really he was just trying to get an excuse. He wanted to go back home. He didn't want to go with David. So could be it's both true. The Gemara says that even the old people maintain their ability to taste, and Barzilai could not because he led an immoral life. When you live an immoral life, you age much faster, as the Rambam writes in Chod Deot, that a person who the zera is the life force of the person, and the more the zera comes out, so then his hair gets white, his hair falls out, he gets weakened, and his eyesight dims, and he can't see so well. So a guy who is married, okay, so he's normal. He's with his wife normal amount of times. But a guy who's immoral, So he's every Monday and Thursday he finds another person. So therefore his zera comes out way more than everybody else. So he gets much older, much faster than everybody else. So therefore that's why Barzillai couldn't taste. Interesting. Some say he was a Rasha. Okay. And then the Gemara of Sechet Shabbat says Barzillai said, "Im eshma od b'kol shirim v'sharot." Can I hear this singing? Can I tell the difference between a male singer and a female singer? I can't tell the difference. I'm old. Like Gemara says, we see from here that old people get old. When they get old, they get hard of hearing. They can't hear so well, so they need hearing aid. Or the old guy says, "What? What'd you say? What? What?" You have to repeat yourself 3-4 times. That we learn from Barzillai. Okay, chapter 20. So what happened over here is now we have Sheva ben Bichri. Okay, Sheva ben Bichri is a Binyamini. He's a man from Binyamin, and he blew a shofar. He cut shofar, and he said, "En lanu chelek beDavid." We have no portion with David. David's not our king, and therefore what? He says, "Ish le'ohalav Israel." Every man to his tent. Ohalav over here is interesting. The same letters as Elokav, right? There's a pasuk in Habakkuk. The Gemara Makot says that if you sum up the whole Torah into one pasuk, which one is it? Tzadik be'emunato yechyeh, right? But there's a corruption of it in Israel. There's a saying, "Ish be'emunato yechyeh," right? So you ask a guy, listen. Why don't you keep this mitzvah? You keep this halakha. He said, listen, ish be'emunato yechyeh. Listen, everybody has their own level of emunah, okay? But really, it's not. It's tzaddik be'emunato yechyeh. You have to be a tzaddik. Now, why did they change the word from tzaddik to ish? So that's wrong. But so here it says ish le'ohalav Israel. Every man to his own tent. Every man can decide on his own to accept him or not. We don't have to accept David as king. Chas v'shalom. That's what Sheva ben Bichri said. So now, if all the Jews went up from David and followed Sheva ben Bichri, they're accepting and they're listening to him, right? He's making a lot of noise. So then the men of Yehudah, they stuck to their king. So already you see, again, the men of Israel, they always felt like a chip on their shoulder. The kings don't come from us. The kings come from Yehudah. And the men of Yehudah say, yeah, we're proud. He's our king. And the men of Israel always fall into this yitzhara of not accepting the king. So they make their own leader. And Sheva ben Bichri is from Binyamin, and he led others to think that, we don't have to accept David, Chas v'shalom. But the people of Yehudah, they did. So what did David do? David came to Yerushalayim. He took his 10 concubine wives, and he put them in a house, and he sustained them, but he was no longer with them. Remember, because Avshalom took his wives, right? So therefore, he didn't want to touch them anymore. Then the king said to Amasa, muster men for me, the men of Yehudah. Next 3 days, he got together the men of Yehudah, but he was late for the appointed time. The king said, David then said to Avishai, now Sheva ben Bichri will do more harm than Avshalom. Already now rebellion number 2. He says we got to go chase him, and maybe he's going to find a fortified city, and he's going to hide inside, and then we're not going to be able to get him. So Yoav went after him with the Kareti ve'apleti, the archers and the slingers, and they chased after Sheva ben Bichri. When they were at the great stone that's in Givon, Amasa was coming toward them. Yoav was with his sword, and what did he do? It fell out. His sword fell out, and Yoav said to Amasa, is everything okay with you, my brother? And Yoav's right hand grabbed Amasa's beard to kiss him. Amasa didn't expect him to get stabbed, and Yoav stabs him in the 5th rib. All his guts come out, and he died. Yoav and his brother Avishai kept chasing Sheva ben Bichri. So we're going to learn that we're going to learn why Amasa gets killed. We learned before. Yeah, you want to do Zimun? Well, go ahead. So basically, they're gonna chase Shemuel ben Bichri. They catch him in a fortified city, and we're gonna learn a lot of halachot from the story. But basically, what's gonna happen is they're gonna come to the city, and Shemuel ben Bichri is hiding inside. The inhabitants of that city, they get an ultimatum. Yoav says, "Listen, either I kill all of you, or you give me Shemuel ben Bichri." So they threw his head over the wall. They threw Shemuel ben Bichri's head over the wall, and they were allowed to because it was either all of them or that one guy. And we're going to learn from them. The Rambam says if somebody puts a bunch of Jews in a room and he says, give me this one guy, I'll kill him. If not, I'll kill all of you. The Rambam says if he's chayav mitah, like Shemuel ben Bichri, so then you're allowed to give him over. Why? Because Shemuel ben Bichri rebelled against the king. He deserves death. So therefore, if he's liable for death because he did other sins, so you're allowed to give him over to get killed. But if he's not, so then everybody has to die.
It has to name the guy.
No. It just means he's as chayav like this guy. That's what it means. But the question over here is also why did he kill Amasa over here? Why did Yoav kill him? So what happens? So the pasuk says over here, Yoav was brought before the Sanhedrin to be judged for murder, and he was asked why he killed Amasa. Yoav said that David told Amasa to come back in 3 days, and our pasuk that it says that Amasa came late. So since Amasa disobeyed David, he was rebelling against the king. So the Sanhedrin says, what do you mean? Amasa did properly that he delayed. Why? Because it says that anyone who violates the commandment of the king is executed, because Hashem told Yoshua that anyone who rebels against your command, you shall put to death. However, the pasuk says, Rak, what? The continue, Rak, be strong and good courage. What does it mean, Rak mean? There's an exclusion where you don't obey the king. That's where the king violates the Torah. Let's say the king tells you to do something against the Torah. You don't have to listen to him. Right? So Amasa came together to gather the men. He found that they were learning Torah. They were in the Beit Midrash. So what? I'm going to tell the king. The king is going to tell me to make these people not learn Torah and bring them to go and start chasing Shemuel ben Bichri. So no. So he delayed. He waited till the session was over. By the time the session was over, by the time they got their stuff, by the time they came back, they already were late. Instead of making it for 3 days, they made it in 4 days. So therefore, Amasa was not a rebel, and Yoav had no right to kill him. But in the end, he killed him. In the end, he killed him because he thought that he was a rebel as well. Okay, we'll talk about this next time. Amen.